June 2014, Harjit Dussange and River Valley Park Inc. purchased the former Shetland Trailer Park in Weirs Township, just north of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Remarkably, for somewhere between 10 to 15 years, depending on who you talk to, and before the trailer park was purchased by Mr. Dussange, homeowners who leased the lots in Shetland Park had been living under a boil water advisory for 10 to 15 years. And they had become accustomed to living with substantial water pressure. How these conditions were allowed to persist for that length of time is still a lingering question. However, in the spring of 2015, after Mr. Dussange followed through on his promise to make improvements to a property that, by most accounts, had been poorly maintained by its previous owner, residents of the newly renamed River Valley Park were elated and hopeful about the future of the place that some had called home for 3 decades. After a $120,000 investment by River Valley Park Inc. for repairs to the water system, for the first time in years, River Valley Park homeowners were able to drink water directly from their taps and enjoy the benefits that came with the increased water pressure, like being able to do a proper load of laundry and actually enjoy a shower. But the relation was not long-lived, because despite passing inspections before the sale of the business to Mr. Dussange, it was discovered that the former Shetland Trailer Park had allegedly been operating with a jerry-rigged septic system that was now creating an environmental hazard that the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change and the District Health Unit ruled required complete replacement at an estimated cost of more than $500,000. That's more than Mr. Dussange paid for the purchase of the property itself. And now, the people who've called the picturesque park their home, some for 30 years, are faced not only with eviction, but with the stark reality of losing everything they have and facing homelessness. I'm Tim Murphy, and welcome to ONNpoint. Joining me after the break will be correspondent Lynn Brown, who's been covering the water woes of River Valley Park since the story first broke. And later, 3 homeowners whose sense of home and security have been eroded by this devastating crisis will share their stories with us. We'll be right back. We're back. This is ONNpoint, and I'm Tim Murphy, and joining me now is correspondent Lynn Brown. Hello, Lynn.
Hello, Timothy.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Lynn is a correspondent for Sioux Online and for ONNtv, and as I said in my introduction, you've been covering this story since it broke back in when?
June 2017 is when I first learned about it.
Okay, so almost a year now you've been covering this.
Correct,
I think you've written something like 10 to 15 different articles on this. Yeah. You obviously have a connection now with the River Valley Park and the residents, the homeowners there.
Yes, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the first thing I want to share is that I think it's a very important thing that people come to understand what this group of people is going through and what they are living with in this time and place. Like in this month of May, the 1st of May.
This was when the deadline
was for them to, for the owner of the current owner of River Valley Park to have essentially closed the park. So the people that are living
right now, they're living on borrowed time right now.
Exactly, words. Yes, exactly.
And you were the one who pointed out to me that we need to remember these are homeowners. I mean, that's right. These aren't tenants. These are people, they lease the lot, but they own these homes, and they've invested a lot of money in some of these places.
That's right. Yeah.
So
some of them have mortgages, Timothy. Some of them have invested so much of their heart and their sweat equity into the landscaping. They have renovated the interior of these, and you're going to be speaking to a couple of them, or to 3 of them later, and that you'll come to understand exactly what this means for those people and the rest of them. And at one time, there was approximately 100 to 120 people at River Valley. Now, I understand that some people have left over the winter because of the impending issues.
Right.
But one of the first things I wanted to share is that I was very taken with the people that live there.
Yes.
I wanted to learn, who is this affecting? Who are the people that live at River Valley? Mm-hmm. And it's a wide assortment of people, from professional people to retired people to single moms to families. And none of them that I have spoken to, not a single one of them, is prepared to leave their home behind.
All right.
And the other thing that I want people to understand is that a mobile home is not mobile.
No.
It stopped being mobile
Winnebagos.
the day that it arrived there. And you know, people have them there. They've built flashings around them. They've insulated around them.
Right.
These are permanent structures now. And these are people's home. And so I'm hard pressed to think of a single solitary person that would be okay with someone coming in and saying that everything that you have worked for is now gone, because none of them can sell the trailers.
No.
It's almost an impossible task to have to consider selling one of those trailers in River Valley, or mobile homes, my mistake, in River Valley.
One of the things also that we talked about was about when you first went out there, and you expected perhaps that the homeowners were going to have a bit of a hate on for
for
the owner, for Harjeet,
Mr.
and you found that not to be the case initially.
Exactly. So as I was first learning the information, I was expecting that Mr. Harjeet Dusange would be cast as the villain in the story. But I found the exact opposite, because he had taken the time to meet with the homeowners when he first took ownership of River Valley in June of 2014 from the then owners of Shetland Park, rebranded it as River Valley Park. He made a commitment to those people that he was going to get them off the Boiled Water Advisory, which, as you shared earlier, was in existence for a very long time. And
there was something I didn't mention, and that was beyond the water issues. He also did work with the electrical issues, and I believe he also did some road repairs. And so it wasn't just that. He was actually investing his time and money into upgrading
the infrastructure. He was working on that piece.
And so not knowing that there was a problem with the
He did not know,
sewage.
Exactly. So in August of 2017, that's when the leaching bed, there's some piece of that James will probably explain to you better.
Our guest, James Sloan, who lives out there, he'll be joining us a little later on, yes?
As he's really much more of an expert on these things than I am. But the leaching bed was leaking. There's something that had happened with the leaching bed. And so there was a complaint made. And so when the complaint was made, then it's incumbent upon Algoma Public Health to investigate. So they came out and investigated and found that there was raw sewage seeping into the Root River. And of course, we're Northerners, we really, really, really care about our environment.
Absolutely.
And then the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change
and the Root River travels, all
yes, it does
through our district. So
yes, it does.
Then we're going to take a short break.
Okay, great.
When we come back, we're actually going to meet James Sloan, and we're also going to meet Faith Hackney, and they are both homeowners.
Yes, they are.
At River Valley, and they've got some details to share with us as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to talk with them, and then I'm going to bring you back a little later on.
All right, thank you, Tim.
Well, thank you for your time, and stay tuned. We'll be right back on point with Tim Murphy, talking about River Valley Trailer Park. This is On Point. I'm Tim Murphy, and in the studio with me right now we have Faith Hackney and James Sloan. Hi, Faith and James. And both are homeowners at River Valley Park. You're more than just a homeowner, you're almost like a lifelong resident there.
Yes,
Tell me, you were saying during the break that your mother, you grew up there and your mother still lives there?
Yes, I have 3 generations in the park now.
3?
Yes, so my mom bought a house there about 32 years ago. I grew up there, and now I'm back with my children. So my children grow up there too.
Wow.
Yeah.
32 years your mother has lived in this. So this is, talk about home. And James, when did you move into River Valley?
Well, this June is going to be a year.
Oh, yeah, so you arrived just as all this was happening.
Exactly.
So here we've got long term, forever and long and short. There we go, the long and short of it. And here, look, we were looking at this earlier. Where's your house, James?
My house is right here.
This is where James lives, if anybody wants to go visit him.
Yeah.
Now, this is mine right here.
Look at you. It really is a community, isn't it?
Yes.
How many, when growing up there, how many would you guess? Could you estimate how many people lived there while you were growing up there?
Approximately, the 40 to 50 homeowners. It was the original back then, right?
40 to 50 homes, plus their families.
Well, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Must have been fun growing up there.
It was great. We had lots of kids. We would be out playing. It's our community.
Right.
So, yeah.
How long had you been aware of water issues?
When my mom was there the last couple of years, because I moved out as an adult, so she had said about 10 to 15 years they had the boil water advisory. And to tell you the truth, when I lived in town, she came to shower at my home because the water pressure was so poor.
She would drive into town. Now, by the way, for those of people who are watching who do not know, Weirs Township, it's an unorganized township, which means that they do not have a municipal governing body like you would have in a city. They don't have, you don't have city councilors. No, and this is very strange. I just found this out. Your taxes go to Thunder Bay?
Yes, it does.
Which is 500 miles north of Sault Ste. Marie.
Yes.
Right.
And you're only about 20 minutes north of Sault Ste. Marie, but your taxes go to Thunder Bay for your roads.
Yes.
Yep.
For
Fire.
Fire. I don't understand how that division happens.
I don't know how that works either.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is making things even more difficult for you because you don't even, who do you turn to? Your MPP?
Well,
Yes.
that's what we did. We turned to Mike Mantha, who's our member of parliament for the Golden District.
Right. We're going to be hearing from him later. We have some video clips. I understand he's been very involved.
He's been very busy with us and trying to help us out and sort of get through the government tape.
All the red
and
tape
all
and the
red
bureaucracy,
tape, because
right?
when we try to contact all these different organizations or government
'Cause
agencies,
you've got
they just sort of close the
ministries
doors,
and-
yes, and we didn't really know who to talk to, who's responsible. So we had to do a lot of research on, who do we talk to?
I see, and I hear that you're sort of you've got a lot of data and
Yes.
documentation. Good for you.
I went through the phone book. I contacted every ministry possible that I figured would have some kind of impact on our issue. And I contacted everybody. I contacted even Premier Wynne and Justin Trudeau.
Did you?
I contacted Mr. Provenzano from Sault Ste. Marie to let him know that many people in the park are on a fixed income. So if we don't get help, we will be his problem because we will be moving to Sault Ste. Marie.
You're a single mother?
Yes, I am.
Wow. How many children have you?
I have 3. I have 2 at home.
Holy smokes! Wow. So let's go back again. Your mother was coming into town to have showers at your house
Yes,
because the
and I
water
remember.
pressure was, and a boiled water advisory for that many years.
Yes.
It just was not being dealt with.
No, and
Nobody cared then
no.
Nope.
So, and yeah, I mean, I guess
because it wasn't sewage at that time.
Well, they had sewage issues.
They did
yes,
too?
They had sewage issues. Well, it started in the spring of 2014 when it was Shetland Park.
While it was still Shetland
Yeah,
Park.
but through some of the residents I talked to that lived there longer, they said they had sewage issues prior to that. And
How did the sale happen then without that being looked after?
that would.
That's the mystery.
That's the mystery.
Is anybody looking into that at this point in time to find out where the ball got dropped on that transition of property?
Well, we did contact the ombudsman,
Okay.
and they are investigating that
There's an
situation.
investigation going on.
Right.
Will that then, could that be used as a tactic to delay the closure? Or if there's an investigation going on, no.
No, it can't fix anything that's going on now, but prior to and how it came to be.
It's basically to ensure that our rights and the owner's rights were taken care of properly during that period of time.
So you've got water problems and there's reports of sewage issues, but
Yes.
then in comes Mr.
Dusange.
Harjit.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so Harjit comes in and it's looking good, right?
Oh, it was great. He brought in water. We had drinkable water. Our water pressure was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right.
So we thought was our saving grace.
Sure, the hero, right?
Yes.
And when I moved in June, that's when they had the first meeting, and that's when I found out about all this. So
When I was talking to your wife earlier and yourself, and they were saying, we could see all these people walking and going to the office and stuff, and you're going, what's going on?
yeah, so we just followed the line right into the meeting, and then we discovered that there's this closure order, and according to them at that
While
time,
you were moving in.
while we were moving in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So then suddenly I don't think that Harjit was your best friend anymore, or what?
Well, according to them, well, I was a little upset.
I would imagine, because
Yes.
you were not informed of
I
any...
was not informed.
What did they tell you when you bought? What did you know?
When I went there to sign the lease, I was just told that they replaced the water system, which we all thought was, hey, that's
Super.
awesome, and that they were going to replace the sewage system. And I said, oh, that's even better.
You were told that they were going to
Yes,
replace it, because
but-
at that time...
There were plans in place that they were going
Yeah,
to be
but they-
replacing it.
They didn't tell us it
Repairing
was, you know, it was an order. We didn't know
That's right.
anything like that.
Oh.
And most of the residents didn't know that either.
We didn't know that there was an order or a possible closure order
Yeah.
until the Algoma Public Health came knocking door to door on June 7th or 8th of 2017.
Wow.
And that's when we found out this.
That's when you found out that they were actually going to close
Close.
The park, yeah.
it down.
We could lose our homes.
And when? That was June, and they
June.
said we're gonna close this down
As
by
of
what?
August
They gave you
31st.
Yes.
your mother had lived there for 32 years, and they were giving her not even 2 months'
Yes,
notice to pack
yes.
up her life and move.
Yes.
Hey, I'm feeling sick already, and
Yes.
I'm just sitting in a TV studio.
Yes.
Oh, you guys, okay, you know what? Let's take a short break.
Okay.
Wait, 60 seconds, I promise. That's all I need to
Okay.
do. 60 seconds, and we're gonna come back and pick up where we left off. This is incredible.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, we'll be right back. Stay tuned for more of On Point with Tim Murphy and the story of River Valley Trailer Park. Thanks for joining us on Point. With me again, we still have James Sloan here, and we have Faith Hackney, residents of the River Valley Trailer Park, or just River Valley Park, I guess it's called,
Yeah,
right?
River Valley
Because it's not really, you don't live in trailers. These are homes.
These are
Oh,
homes.
wow.
These are homes. We spent a fair amount of money fixing them up. Some you'll meet someone later on that really put a lot of money into his
Right,
home. his
Jeff
home.
Jeff
Yeah,
Good is
Jeff,
going to join
yes.
us later, and he and his
So-
wife. I've seen some of the pictures of their property with the landscaping,
Yes.
and you people do porches
Yes,
and
we
renovations.
put the porches, we put add-ons and stuff like that.
Sure. So
Yes.
okay. So where did we leave off? Oh, I know. I want to back up because we were talking about before the sale to Harjeet. Okay. So you're talking about the septic tank, the septic system needed some work.
Yes.
And the previous owners were supposed to do the work. Yes?
Yes.
Tell me about this like for like. I heard that this is something that they were supposed to do. What is like for like?
Or allowed.
Yes,
Or
so
allowed.
the Ministry of Environment allowed them to do a replacement like for like, meaning that they could go in and replace the leaching bed or any of the inoperable mechanisms as a like for like replacement.
In other words, they would not have to dig up the entire system and put an entire
No.
new system in. They could just repair like for like what was existing.
Yeah, and
Yes.
at that time, they said that the leaching bed on the south side was malfunctioned, and that's where the material came out of, or the raw sewage.
So raw sewage was coming
So
out
they
of the leaching
replaced
bed.
that. They had the summer to replace it, which there's evidence there was some ground moved,
Yes.
because as far as anybody inspecting it, there was no inspection done.
Wait. So wait, they did the work.
Right.
They did the like for like, but nobody ever came back to inspect it?
No one from the Ministry of the Environment came to, or engineers came to inspect and make sure before they buried the material, buried the pipes, that it was done correctly. The only thing we got from the Ministry of the Environment is 2 pictures, and the 2 pictures is the ground after it was filled in. So you don't even know if there's a pipe there.
And there's no documentation on file with the Ministry of Environment of the work that was done. It was just verbal.
Right. So they came back.
And yet they sold this.
Well, it was sold, and then the Ministry of Environment came back in the
Within a
fall of
month.
that year.
After it was sold?
After it was sold.
Okay.
And then they discovered all the other issues.
Other issues meaning.
The
Said
other
that the
issues,
system had
the
been altered.
pumps were removed, the aeration systems that were supposed to be in place were not there anymore.
Not functioning for a very long time.
And
But this was not because of the new owner.
no,
This was previous
Yes.
to the sale.
previous to the sale.
So now he has to make this right.
Yes.
And this is when they tell him whole new system,
Right.
about $500,000. Ish.
quarter,
A whole
yeah,
new
at least a
system
quarter.
would cost
At least
roughly-
$250,000?
Well, a whole new system would cost $500,000.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
But the owners wanted to replace the pumps, the aeration systems.
Okay.
So, as far as the last year, they filled in an application to the Ministry of Environment. They had to do an environmental study, which roughly costs us about $40,000, which they did. And it showed that the river system, the root river system, can handle a system like this, and it won't do any detrimental effect on the environment.
You have a background, by the way, just as an aside, you have a bit of a background in environmental science.
Yes, I went to college and took water resources, actually a Sioux College here.
And you had a job.
And plus I worked for the Environmental Canada.
Okay.
For my younger years, doing research in Turkey Lake areas.
Okay, so this isn't that foreign to you.
No.
You, on the other hand,
It's all new to me.
and every ministry. I mean,
every ministry with
laws.
all the laws. Yes, the Water Act, the Environmental Act, all the everything.
Tenant Act.
Yes.
oh my gosh!
So.
While raising 3 children alone,
Yes,
dealing with all of
it's been
this,
difficult,
and
very
a
difficult.
mother that you care about, obviously.
Yes, and my sister's there too.
And your sister's there too.
And my niece. So my entire family is there. It's not that we can pick up and go to another family member. My entire family is there.
Right.
And the problem is for us to move these trailers, you have to remember most of these trailers have been put in 1985. So they've been rebuilt and they're pretty well permanent now because people have added on sections to their homes.
And it's not as if you're getting a home out of the right off the assembly line that is ready to put on the back of a truck and go.
No.
These have been weathered.
Yes.
I mean, these have been out in the environment for 30 years.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right.
And no one's intended to move these. So, wheels have been removed, the axles have been removed, the tongues have been removed.
Of course.
All these things, and most of these don't have towing abilities.
And even if they were movable, where would we put them?
Exactly.
Okay.
We would have to find a piece of land to sell.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's next?
We don't know what's next.
We don't.
in limbo.
We're praying on
That's
yes.
what the stress is all about. Right now,
Okay, let's talk about the stress. Let's talk about the personal toll this has taken on your lives.
It's been very stressful. I have a heart condition, and I have to be very careful. And at night, I don't sleep. I worry about where we're going to go.
Are you retired now?
Yes.
So this was supposed to be your retirement haven?
Yes.
This was supposed to be your
That's
peace and quiet after working all your life?
Having a fire, enjoying a walk by the river.
And this is your family history.
This is family history, and this is where I planned on retiring. Like I said, my entire family's there, so I just walk. I can see my sister's place. I walk down the road past James. My mama's there. So it's our community.
And has this a roller coaster ride? Because at times you think that there's going to be on the horizon, and then no.
That's right.
The ministry and the public health. Now, to be fair, Algoma Public Health does have to be concerned for the environment as well as the ministry.
They do.
But where is the balance, though, between caring for the environment and caring for human lives that are human lives? You don't want people to get sick either.
Exactly.
But no mediation.
No. We're sort of in this middle ground right now, and there's no real funding.
And we haven't even discussed the fact that partway through all of this, the owner or one of the officers from River Valley Park Inc. ended up with a serious health condition.
Yes.
And he stepped away from this debacle and has a relative is now the officer of the incorporation that you're dealing with.
That's right.
And you've met him once in a year, maybe?
I didn't meet him. I met him once, period.
So at one time, the new owner is, we're getting fresh water, and now
attitude.
Now
it's a complete different attitude.
No communication.
There's no communication. No communication. They don't have the money to.
Well, he had until May the 1st, and not a peep.
They haven't done anything during that period of the final closure of the fall of last year.
Wow.
And then all winter, they did nothing.
We have to take a quick 60 seconds. Okay. We're going to be back in 60 seconds. We'll be right back to wrap it up with the two of you.
Thanks.
And then we're going to come back with, Lynn's going to rejoin us with Jeff Good. He and his wife are an elderly couple who live at River Valley as well, and they're going to share their story with us. But stay tuned for wrapping up with James and with Faith. Okay, we'll be right back. I'm Tim Murphy, this is On Point, and we are talking about River Valley Park Incorporated and the water woes that they've been experiencing now for a year. Joining me are homeowners from River Valley. This is Faith and that is James. Now, let's talk a little bit about, we talked about the past. Let's talk about the present. And you're still faced with, at this point, having to leave, although it sounds like there's a lot of you who are saying
we're not leaving.
No,
yes.
But there's stuff that for us to leave, there's requirements for the ownership. They have to give us a year's notice.
Okay.
They haven't gave us an eviction notice.
Oh.
So once they give us an eviction notice, that we have a year to move. They also are by law to give each of us $3,000
for moving.
Or
for
1 year's
moving.
whatever.
And
And how many of you, how many families are left there now, would you guess?
About 30.
About 30 families.
So they need 90 grand right there.
Right there. Right.
Plus another year.
Yeah.
And that's from the time that they file it with the landlord.
And what are the
And the
conditions
fines.
like there now? What's going on out there for you
Well,
guys?
right now, since the new ownership, and then we had a meeting April
17.
17th, and at that time we were told by the park manager that they don't have the funding.
They don't have the
enough
money to
do it. So they were asking us.
Is that a change? Is that a reverse?
Yes, a
First-
total reverse.
When you bought just a year ago,
Right, exactly a year. They told us they had the money. They just need the approval.
They said they had it, but as long as it was under $350,000,
Yes,
they could do the
no
work,
problem.
no problem.
No problem.
And now, a year
Now,
later, suddenly they don't have
about
$350,000.
$40,000.
So somewhere
That's
along the way, they lost 290, yeah,
Or their
$310.
attitude, yes.
Or their attitude.
Yes. So now.
What else is going on there?
So at that meeting, people were complaining because, like you said, the owner of 2017 had some health issues, so no one knew who to pay, who to give the money to for rent.
Oh,
So we brought that up.
okay.
And so the manager, Surrender, said that they'll open the office because the office wasn't open all winter. No office, no manager.
You had nobody on site to manage your property?
No,
No.
just.
We had the previous park manager who passed
Passed
Yeah.
away?
in March. Yes.
Yes, he passed.
Is
in
that when
March.
you started stepping in to
Then
help?
I stepped in, yes, for a little while, just hopefully trying to save the park because if we
Yeah.
didn't have somebody there,
Yeah, we needed
So
someone
you
to pay
just
rent.
had to step
Yeah.
up because
No
no one else was
managerial.
gonna.
Well, we needed to pay someone for rent.
Meanwhile, you were taking care of the water
I'm
and the.
taking care of the water. Right now, we're under a boil water because there's a water leak in the park.
There's a water leak, so you're back to the boil water
So I'm back to
advisory.
the boil water, but I have to shut the water off between midnight till 5 to allow the tanks to fill up again, so
So
we
you
have
don't-
enough water during the day.
So you don't burn the pumps out.
yes.
Well, the pumps are running 24/7, so.
What about the sewage?
The sewage, because of the APH order we have to make sure the tanks don't fill up.
You're doing that too?
I'm the one that goes and calls the trucks and have them tell which tanks to go, and
So this is you.
there's no
we're running
one
one
around.
sort of
You're running the park.
Yeah, and the last 3 weeks, the
this-
office
sorry.
has been closed.
Yes.
Nobody's in the office
Yes.
again.
They were only
in
open
the
once.
office.
They open.
They only opened once.
In the middle of a crisis.
And they also removed some of the equipment.
Yeah.
Some of the owners' septic systems have backed up. Actually, five owners, and they tried to snake them, but they don't have a long enough snake to get to the plugs. So those 5 owners have material coming up in their backyard, in their homes. And they've been doing this for 6 months,
Not being addressed.
not being addressed.
And then when they did try to address it,
Yes,
they caused another homeowner to have electrical issues.
because they severed
Because
the
they-
electrical.
Yeah.
And it blew his fuse box and all his appliances.
Everything.
And then
His appliances?
yes, and then they repaired that, and they didn't fix the break in the electrical line properly underground, and it created a short, and it did it again.
Yes.
So now we have a power line actually on the ground that goes to the house, goes underneath another abandoned house to that person's house. And then plus the septic system that they can't fix, all they did is just took out the clean out tops, and then
Let it-
any excess happens to pop out out of that.
You also talked
Behind the
about
homes.
the roads are in disrepair as
And
well now.
they haven't even touched road. Actually, we have at this location right here, because of the frost, has pulled out a stump and brought it out, and it's sticking out about that high.
Yeah.
And I actually was the one that put the pylon on it, so people wouldn't run around the
over
corner and.
Do people drive SUVs and stuff like that? I mean, not SUVs,
Four-wheelers and, yeah.
That's terribly dangerous to have that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, well, cars too.
Yeah.
Sure.
No,
Oh yeah.
might have a little
No.
car, so
Yeah.
it'll bottom out, that's for sure.
So okay, so we're going to wrap this segment up with the two of you, but before we do, I think you have something you wanted to mention about the government needs to take a different look at the way they treat people who, or the way they look at trailer parks, mobile home parks.
Right, I think the government's attitude to mobile homes, and you know, you hear the federal and provincial governments, Trudeau and Wynne, talk about affordable homes and how we're going to fix homelessness. Well, here's mobile homes where our rent's no more than 400. I shouldn't say rent, but it's land lease.
The
but
lease,
it's 400
yeah.
compared to if we had to go into the city just for an apartment. We were talking in $1,000 range. So this is affordable homes right here.
These are affordable homes.
These are affordable homes, and we have to change the attitude to these mobile home parks, because if you see places like in Calgary, places around Toronto, a lot of developers are taking these mobile homes, and because of the people that are mostly on disability, can't afford expensive lawyers, they give the 1 year, say, get out of here, and these people lose their homes because if you can't move it, they're abandoned, and then the developers come in and put these $500,000 $1 million homes on it. And that's what's happening around Toronto, and that's what's happening in Calgary right now.
Wow. And what about for you? Where does this wrap up for you? Is there anything that you wanted to just say or to sort of summarize? Oh
Okay,
yes, let's talk about this.
I've created a GoFundMe account to try and raise money for the homeowners in the park.
For legal or?
Yeah, for legal or moving expenses.
Okay.
So we've
Moving expenses.
Depends how
one
we
of
end
them.
up.
Yes.
We don't know where we're going to end.
So where
on
do we
this.
go to for GoFundMe? How do we find you?
We are
On Facebook.
on
On
Facebook as well.
Facebook?
Yeah, it's under River Valley Park Save Our Homes.
River Valley Park Save Our Homes on Facebook.
Like right here.
Yeah, sure, there you go. And so if anybody can help,
Yes.
they'll take whatever you can get
Yes.
at this point, because 3 generations, we got to wrap it up. Okay, so we're going to come back. Lynn's going to join me again, and we're going to talk a little bit before we bring Jeff in, and we're also going to show that clip from Michael Mantha, the MPP, who's been working quite diligently with this entire debacle. I cannot thank you enough, Faith. Such a pleasure.
And thank you for
I wish
cause.
I wish we were meeting under better circumstances, and I honestly hope only the best for all of you and for your families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Okay, we'll be back after 60 seconds. Stay with us. Tim Murphy, On Point. We're back on Point with Lynn Brown, back in the studio again. So Lynn, you saw the interview with James and with Faith, and I think it's obvious to everybody that there has definitely been a change in the way that this is being communicated between the different parties. There's been a breakdown in communication. Have you experienced that?
You know what, Tim, I have. I had a very good relationship with Harjit. He was willing to talk to me when I reached out to him. He even provided a written statement at one point for us. But with the new owner, Mr. Jasbir Dusange, I have been unsuccessful in reaching him. I have in fact gone out to the Pioneer Trailer Park, where the park manager apparently was living, Mr. Surinder Dusange, and he would not provide me with any information at that time.
You're not the only one who apparently is having problems with communications. APH, Oklahoma Public Health, and the ministry, as well as Michael Mantha, are all having a difficult time with the line of communications with the owners of the park. And Mr. Mantha talks about this. We have a video clip actually, and this is from May the 4th. When Michael Mantha met with the homeowners, he wanted to touch base before the election started to let them know that he was still working with them on this. But the message that he has is not very positive and not very hopeful. So let's take a look at this message from Michael Mantha from May the 4th from the homeowners meeting.
Living their life sort of day by day, is that basically the premise for them right now?
Yeah, it is. Until we know what the park owner is going to do, we remain frustrated. is the message that I got from the homeowners here. Scared. I've advised them to prepare for the worst. Prepare, look at your options, seek out some accommodations, because quite frankly, I don't know what decisions the park owner is going to do or not do. I just don't have that information, because as they are frustrated, I'm not getting that information either. And neither is APH and neither is MOECC. So I've told them to prepare for the worst, look at options, find some family just in case. And there's a lot of pet owners that are there as well.
That's right.
And that's the other part is, you know, you've got to find some accommodations for them as well.
Right.
So we've indicated to them that if they're looking for some numbers and looking for some supports, we have that available at my office to try and help them as best as we can.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
So, things you don't even think about.
That's right.
I wouldn't even consider pets.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the pets part, and many of the homeowners, if not all of them, have pets. There's dogs and there's cats out there, and so where do they go? You know, how do people pick up and move their lives, their whole life? And one of the people that I interviewed early on was Mr. Bud Wildman, because he had been part of the process when it was still Shetland Park, and that's Mr. Bud Wildman was a former MPP for the district.
I'll go for the district, yeah.
Of East, I believe. And you know, he made the point that if people are evicted from an apartment building, you can move your chairs, your furniture, your bed, but if you're evicted from a mobile home park, you're moving your entire life. And your home isn't coming with you necessarily, because they're not going to move anywhere.
And the suggestion that he said, we're here to offer supports, try to find family. Well, we heard from Faith. Her family lives there.
Exactly.
There is nowhere. And our next guest is going to be Jeff Good.
Right.
He and his wife moved here from Southern Ontario.
They did, yes.
They have a son who has and a grandchild. They can't move into their son's house.
It's nothing is
easier said than done.
The optimal solution. And Mr. Good, Jeff and his wife Jan are lovely people. And when I first spoke to them, one of the first things that they said to me was that we moved there on purpose. We chose that space because of the beauty of it, because of the fact that they were surrounded by nature, and their whole life has been about that. They've been people who have enjoyed being outdoors, and they were on a drive. As the story goes, they told me this was like last summer, that they were on a drive, a road trip, and they happened upon this place, and said that's going to be where we retire.
And we're going to hear their story next, so we'll be back in 60 seconds with more On Point. Thanks for staying on point with us. I'm Tim Murphy, and joining me now in the studio is Jeff Good. Jeff, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming in and spending this time with us today to tell us about the situation at River Valley. Now, but Jeff, you purchased when it was still Shetland Park. I mean, you leased when it was still Shetland Park.
Yes.
But you also did purchase the home.
That's correct.
The home was already in Shetland Park.
Right.
Yes. And where did you come from, Jeff?
I came up from, actually, we just lived south of Barrie in Innisfil.
Oh, I know the area. It's beautiful down there, too.
Yeah.
And you came north, you were mentioning, because your son is located now in Sault Ste. Marie and
working at Grey Lakes Forest Centre, yeah.
Okay, and he has a family here?
Yes, he does.
So you came up to be grandpa and grandma with your wife? And your age now, sir, is, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm 81. My wife, Jan, is 71.
I can't believe you just told me your wife's age on television. Jan, I'm sorry that was not non-disclosure. So now you're in trouble. But, okay, so you and Jan move up, and you find this beautiful Shetland Park, and you find a home there for yourselves. And you were happy there, or?
Well, we've been very happy. Yeah.
10 years, a little over 10 years now?
10 years. It'll be 10 years in December.
Yes. And because this is your home, you have spent a fair amount of money making this.
We have done major repairs to the...
Tell me a little bit about what you've done out there, Jeff.
Well, we had a tree fall on the roof a couple of years ago.
Oh.
So we've replaced the roof.
New roof.
I put in brand new windows all the way around, environmentally friendly windows.
Oh, yes. Oh, great.
Re-insulated, new siding. We did a lot of work.
Hey,
an extension.
An extension as well. And I've also seen some pictures of the landscaping. Is that your work or your wife's?
No, that's my wife.
Beautiful. I think they might be putting some pictures up for us to take a look at the work you've done out there.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars?
I don't know how much we spent on plants and bulbs and God knows what.
But this was your retirement home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you thought this was going to be it?
This was going
Serenity,
Yeah.
the wilderness, right?
No, we were planning on staying for the rest of our
The
lives.
rest of your lives. Now, where does that put us now?
That puts us right in the soup.
You were saying to me that if you were anybody who was another homeowner who wasn't leasing the lot would sell their home. I mean, if you were just a homeowner like I am, when I go to sell my house, I sell my house and I get my money back for it.
Exactly.
What happens for you folks?
Well, pretty obviously, without a functioning septic system, we're going to have one heck of a hard time selling our home, which means that without getting the money that we've got into it back, we can't go and start somewhere else. So we're stuck.
You're 81. Who would ever? I mean, that is terrible. 81 and 71, and now you're going to have to start and never mind move and look for something else. Lose.
All of the money we've invested. Yeah.
Oh, Jeff.
That's the bad news.
What's the good news?
We don't know.
We're crossing
We're waiting for the good news, which is fix the septic system, and then we're back in business. But the chances of that seem to be going down
the drain. Yeah. No pun intended. Now, your background, before you retired,
I worked as a development engineer for a furniture company in Newmarket.
And how many years did you work?
For them?
Yeah.
30 years, something like that.
30 years. And then came to beautiful Northern Ontario. Now, when the changes were first, when the ownership first changed, and when it went from Shetland Park to River Valley Park Incorporated, you were happy with the changes that you saw? Were you impressed with the work that was being done?
Yes, because basically the water system was built up to a good standard. We had drinking water that you could drink out of the tap, so we were happy.
Yeah.
What we didn't know was what kind of a situation was developing in the septic system,
Right.
which just wasn't being looked after properly. In fact, from all I can tell, it hadn't been operating according to the original designs from probably long before we started.
Even before, you mean even before you moved it?
Yeah, we had no idea
No.
at that point that there was any problem there.
What about what's the relationship like now with the people that are remaining, the 30-odd families that are still living at River Valley Park? How is what is the atmosphere like there now, Jeff?
Very, very poor. I mean, my wife is a bit of an invalid, and she has an incurable disease. So this stress is just terribly hard on her, and it's hard on everyone else.
We're going to take a quick 60-second break, and we're going to come back and talk some more with Jeff Good about the situation at River Valley Park. Stay with us on Point. We're back on Point with Jeff Good, and we're talking about River Valley Park and the trials and tribulations that you've been experiencing for the last year now. And Jeff, the process that you've been put through, it's obviously been very trying. You mentioned your wife is not in the best of health, a lot of stress. We saw a clip earlier from Michael Mantha. I understand that he's been quite helpful.
He's been very helpful. Yeah, we really appreciate it. We got.
We actually received an email from Mr. Mantha who wished he could have been here. Obviously, there's a campaign going on, and he's very busy right now, but his thoughts, he wanted you to know that his thoughts are still with you, and he still has grave concern for all of you. Now, what about, you're dealing with so many levels. You've got the provincial government involved, you've got ministries involved, you've got Algoma Public Health involved. Do you think that things could have been handled differently, or?
I certainly hope it could have. The impression that we get or got from the way it started out with Oklahoma Public Health having a meeting, we basically went to the meeting and told it was a fait accompli. We're out of the place, and they're going to line up social services to help us find a temporary housing and so on. And at that point, that meeting, I stood up and said, "Listen, we're not moving. We can't move. You know, we own this house, and if we can't sell it, how can we move?" And obviously, when there's no functioning septic system, there's no possibility of selling it.
So you feel kind of, and you mentioned that you thought maybe you felt a little bit like a pawn, that maybe you were being used. In what way?
Well, pretty well from all of the information we've got from public health, we get the impression that they are pressuring us to put pressure on the owners. And we get the strong feeling that we're being, stampeded. And it's not a very pleasant thing at all.
You went to a meeting with Algoma Public Health, and when you arrived there, suddenly there were social services and there were lawyer services being offered to you, and you did not expect that when you went to that meeting?
No, we didn't. We really didn't really know what was going to go on, but as I said, the impression that was being put out by public health was, this is a done deal, you guys are out of here, and we're going to get social services to help you out, which didn't exactly thrill us when you consider what we're giving up to, if that is, the eventual outcome.
Now, it's May, I don't even know, it's the May 7th, what's the date today? May 17th. So we're already 16 days past the due date that the last order that they were to hear from the owners of the park by no later than May the 1st, and there's been no word.
No word whatsoever.
So what is it day to day for you now? Are you just waiting for the other shoe to drop, or?
Yeah, it's just about a very good description of what's happening. Yeah, we're just waiting to see what's going to happen. I mean, as far as my wife and I are concerned, and I know this applies to Faith and the other people, like Jane's mother is our next door neighbor.
Faith's mother is your next door neighbor.
Yeah, and we're sticking it out. We can't move, and we don't intend to.
Well, James, I thank you so much for coming in again and sharing your story with me and with the viewers of ONNpoint, and I wish you all the best. And I have a feeling this is not the end of the story. We're going to be covering this more, folks, so stay tuned and keep watching for Lynn Brown's articles on Sioux Online, because she's not going to give up this story either. Again, thank you, sir. My best to you and your wife, and we'll be back in 60 seconds. Thanks for staying with us on Point. I'm Tim Murphy, joined once again by Lynn Brown here in the studio. Lynn, that interview with Jeff Good was heartbreaking.
It is. It's very difficult. And you multiply Jeff and his wife Jan's story times 30 families and over 100 people. The sorrow that is palpable. If you go to River Valley Park, it's palpable there. And
they're facing homelessness.
They're
facing social services.
They are, and the people that are living there, like Jeff and Jan, for example, they've lived their whole lives. They chose to come to River Valley, and at this point in their life, they deserve peace. They deserve the security that comes with knowing that you are getting up in the same place that you're putting your head to bed at. And it's been a real struggle for them.
But yet, on the other hand, I mean, we can't ignore the fact that there are environmental issues that are serious. Other people's health is involved as well. Children getting sick. I mean, we can't have that happen either. So,
right.
Yes. You want to say there must be a middle ground, but is there?
But is there? And there have been a number of studies done, as the other folks have talked about.
Yeah.
The environmental compliance application, the ECA that was done. The water capacity study, the assimilative capacity study.
Now that is the ability for the body of water, in this case being the Root River, to assimilate any pollutants in without negatively impacting the environment.
That's
so that
right.
study's been done as well.
Yes, and my understanding is that was done by an outfit, Greenland Consulting, out of Bracebridge.
Okay.
And so there's a number of studies. The point that I'm trying to make is that there's a number of studies now, Tim, that are on the books. There's things that have been done, assessments that have been done, and now we just need the right player to come and take this thing and move it forward so that these folks do not have to face homelessness, because that is the possibility.
But is that right player someone who's going to have to come in and replace River Valley Park Inc.?
That is still this chapter yet to be written. However,
well, if anyone's going to write it, I guess it's going to be you. Oh.
I suspect that is the case, because there is a level of frustration that is going on, and the one thing that the owner, sorry, not the owner, but the brother of the owner, the former manager, had shared, is that there is no more money. That River Valley Park Inc. is essentially broke, and that there is no going forward for them as far as being able to invest into infrastructure that will be required by the MOECC to bring it to 2018.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for all the reporting you've done on this story over the past year. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for lining up the guests today. This has been informative and, as we say, rather depressing. Right. I'm going to go home to my house now and say hello to my dogs and count my lucky stars. If anybody wants to help out, you know that there is the GoFundMe page that you can go to that we spoke of earlier in the show. And otherwise, I guess we'll just stay tuned, Lynn.
Yeah, and there is an election. And so if this is an issue that has compelled you to want to advocate for River Valley, there may be opportunities that you see to raise that issue.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
And thanks for your time. We'll see you again on Point. I'm Tim Murphy. Bye for now.